Speaksies.
When I need to buy shorts to fit my active lifestyle and sexy legs, there's only one place for me, chubbyshorts.com. Chubby's 5.5-inch inseam casual shorts made with super comfortable stretch fabric are perfect for any warm weather activity. My favorite Chubbies are my Caconators, which go with any bandana. For more, go to chubbyshorts.com or look up the Chubbies app on your phone. chubbyshorts.com. Skies out, thighs out. We've lost many things from COVID.
Yes.
And by the way, I call it the vid, just to let you know. So that's the way I refer to it. We've lost lots of sports. We've lost the opportunity to travel. We've lost spending time with our friends. Some of us have lost our dignity. So case in point, I'm at the gas station, and someone is playing some sort of like current top 40 song. And an adult male comes out with his family, like looks like a productive member of society. And he hears the song, and this is what he says. Hey, this is my TikTok. And immediately, any respect or I don't care what this guy does for the rest of his life, gone.
How old do you think he was?
Our age, so 30 plus. I mean, he looked like a functioning adult. It was a nuclear family. There was, father, wife, mother, father. It was a bad situation, and I didn't think I could lose my respect for someone like immediately, and it was just like a drained.
Yeah, TikTok has broken me. It was, and there's a line, and it got crossed somewhere between, Snapchat and TikTok,
right?
Because I'm a 42-year-old man that has had Snapchat, and you always have to follow that up with I have it. Because the kids like the filters,
Right.
But you have it or you don't. I have Instagram. I've taken selfie. There are things that will cause you to lose respect for someone. It erodes for a while, and all that adds to it. And I realize that. Crossing over to TikTok, it's just like a bridge too far for me. When it comes to even of course I would never have one, but just seeing them gets my hackles up. I don't know if I saw a grown man doing it at the gas station, I don't know if I would just lose respect for him.
Right. Well, he didn't start performing at the gas station. He heard the song. And said, "This is." But you bring up something.
I don't even know what does that even mean.
That's what freaked me out more. Is that he used a present tense verb. So this wasn't something like he did one time.
Yeah.
Like he said, "Hey, this is my TikTok." So this is like a song that makes me think that it is frequently being used. Like TikTok is happening still to him. It wasn't something he did one time, maybe in a sourdough bread days in April. Like this is like presently, he's working on his TikTok dance and improving it.
I may know who Grimes is,
right?
But I don't know. I don't understand what you just said at all.
Good.
And so I actually feel good about that.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means to say this is my TikTok. Is that like saying this is my jam? But...
So it gets better, of course. So being me. I'd probably stop right where I was and opened up my phone and noted what had happened, because that's what I do. I observe things and I note them.
Yeah.
But I also got the Shazam out, so I could figure out what song it was too.
No.
So it wasn't too bad.
Okay.
It was a song called "Say So" by Doja Cat.
Okay. I've heard of that song.
It's okay.
But I don't know who it is. I mean, I don't know what it sounds like.
So it's actually not that bad.
Okay.
It's basically. I would say the music's copied from "Good Times" by Chick.
Oh, yeah, okay.
These are the good times. The Sugar Hill Gang beat, you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
So it's basically that. So it's not that bad of a song.
But the fact that this guy's old enough to know what that song is.
Yeah.
But yet he referenced it as "This is my TikTok."
Right. But it gets worse.
Oh, it keeps getting worse.
It gets worse.
I keep wanting to start the show before I implode to talking about TikTok.
Well, that's why you get to edit things.
True.
So I had to do some Googling on what a Doja Cat was. And she's got several songs. As most people who record songs don't just have one song.
Right.
So, looking at right now at her Spotify top 5, we have "Say So," which is the song that is that guy's TikTok.
Yeah.
One called Boss Bitch, which I think is someone who is in a white collar environment and is in charge. Like that, featuring Gucci Mane.
Oh, well, so, now you know it's good.
Exactly. Say So Remix with Nicki Minaj, so you know that's good.
Yeah.
But farther on down the list, not even on the top 10, is a song called Moo with three O's.
Is it with Megan Thee Stallion with 3 E's?
No. Oh. And speaking of her, I'm gonna just read a few lyrics. I'm not gonna go Ben Shapiro WAP on you.
I would be fine with it, actually. That would cheer me up.
We'll see. All right, you ready?
Do it.
Yeah.
Is that time out? Is that you or is that part of the song?
That's part of the song. You interrupted me.
Sorry. Yeah. I just have never heard that come from you. That from your mouth. All right, let's go.
Yeah. Bitch, I'm a cow. Bitch, I'm a cow. I'm not a cat. I don't say meow. Bitch, I'm a cow. Bitch, I'm a cow. Bitch, I'm a cow. Bitch, I'm a cow. I go moo. I'm a cow, I'm a cow, I'm a cow. Moo. I'm a cow, I'm a cow, I'm a cow. I'm going to stop.
All right.
It's a real song.
Well, when you said it got worse, I could never have imagined how much worse.
Yeah. And this is what makes me mad about it, is not necessarily the profanity and the extra work I might make you do to bleep me saying that word over and over again.
Yeah.
But her name is Doja Cat.
Oh,
and she has a song saying repeatedly, "I'm a cow."
What is she?
She's confusing me.
Yeah.
That's what bothers me with that.
It bothers me too.
If she was Doja Cow, I'm all behind that.
All right. Well, welcome to Origin of Speaksies. Now that we're all in a good mood after we heard that song by Steve, we're going to get the show started. My name is Scott, and I'm here with Steve, as usual. And we are going to talk tonight about some terms that are used for somebody that's in charge, somebody maybe like a Doja Cow that or a badass bitch or
a boss something.
Boss bitch. But we've got other words for that. But first, I want to tell you that we have our good friend Bill Cannell on the show tonight. And he's doing Know Your Onions with us, which is the new game show, which is sweeping the podcast world.
Bill Cannell, bluesman, and viral video star.
Oh, yeah. We're going to link to that. If you haven't seen it, you'll love it.
In a good way, not in a Doja Cat way.
Well, what's going to be weird about it is watching that video. First of all, viral video, that term's that's not aging well with the virus out there. But anyway, there needs to be a new term for it.
Vid video?
The vid video. Oh, okay.
Yeah, or viral vid. Anyway. Tangent
it almost makes it worse, but
yeah.
When you see it, it's going to seem weird, number one, because people are out and about all together. And also, everybody's so happy.
Well, because Bill's there. Well, because Bill's a happy guy.
So, looking forward to that. All right, so as I mentioned before, we're going to talk about terms having to do with people in charge and important people. So, there are a lot of terms like this. You got the big cheese.
Big cheese.
A lot of them start with big. Big enchilada. Big wheel. The Grand Poobah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I do like Grand Poobah.
We should have brought that up with MC Search.
I know, good, golden age of hip hop group as well. Head honcho, which I always liked. Head honcho. Maybe I should have done that because I really don't know exactly what a honcho is. A kingpin, top banana, top dog, muckety muck. Have you heard that one?
I have heard that, but that's a positive thing to be a muckety.
It is. The muckety muck's in charge of this place.
Okay.
So it's one that I had forgotten about when I read it. I was like, yeah, I have heard that one. Or even, just the man.
The man.
These are all terms for, people in charge, important people.
Yeah.
The one we're going to start with tonight is Bigwig.
Bigwig.
And so briefly, let me just say what the meaning of it is because it's very obvious and I think everyone knows what it means.
Okay.
As far as, according to Merriam-Webster, it's pretty straightforward. It's not very often you see a 3-word definition, but this one was just an important person.
Okay. Gets right to, you know exactly what you're dealing with. Exactly.
The bigwig. Do you use the term bigwigs?
I do. I have said that before and I say it, I don't know, is presently. I do say it.
Yeah.
No, it's a term I use for that. When you see someone who's I think I use a lot of those ones that you listed off. But Bigwig's definitely on that list of something I'd say probably more than I realize.
Yeah, it's if I look at that whole list of everything I just said, I'd probably say Bigwig or Head Honcho the most. I need to start bringing in Muckety Muck more, but
yeah.
But the reason why I'm doing this one is a few weeks back I was listening to Joe Rogan and he had comedian Kyle Dunnigan on.
Okay.
Now I would like to take a moment just to appreciate Kyle Dunnigan. Dude probably has the funniest Instagram like out there.
Wow.
It is hilarious.
Is it better than Doja Cat's?
It has to be because it's the best. And
okay.
he's the remember how Howard Stern called himself the king of all media and then it stuck? I think he coined himself that. I believe Kyle coined himself as the king of Instagram. And I would say he's deserved it. If you've never watched one of his face swap videos, they're the funniest thing. They make me laugh very, very hard. He uses that technology, which freaks me out. But still it's good. He does a great Andrew Cuomo.
Okay.
It's beautiful. By the way, these get really disturbing. Like he does a Michael Jackson. Yeah. That is just absolutely disturbing. Well, which he'll bring up and he'll just be.
You had me at Michael Jackson.
He'll do an interview where he's Michael Jackson and he'll just go, "That's ignorant," as Michael Jackson, and it just kills me. But the best thing he does is he does Ray Liotta doing the Chantix commercials. It's pretty great. So I did want to take time out just to shout out Kyle Dunnigan because we need more Kyle in the world.
Yeah.
But these are the types of Joe Rogan episodes I really enjoy because, do you even listen to Joe Rogan?
I do occasionally. I think mostly it's off of recommendations when something that you'll see. And I'm also one of those people that whenever there's Elon Musk is on there, he seems every few months to have kind of an important event or something will happen that's kind of meme worthy or something that'll catch my attention.
Well, his show is very culturally relevant. Even people that aren't into podcast know Joe Rogan has a podcast, are starting to understand sort of the significance of his show.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite shows are the ones where he gets a guy like Kyle Dunnigan, some sort of comedian, and there's no agenda. They're not there to like plug anything. It's not a deep conversation. They're just sitting around, shooting the breeze, if you will. Right. And so in this episode, they're both very altered. I'll put it that way. I mean, we know that Joe doesn't mind having his guests do different things that alter you and stuff like that. So, I mean, probably more so than I've ever heard on the show. And they go for 3.5 hours where it feels like they're barely able to even stay coherent. And but it reminds me of like being camping, sitting around the campfire and you're just talking with friends and it's kind of going off the rails. Yeah. But it's really fun to listen to. Why am I spending so much time talking about this? Well, I was listening to this episode and Joe out of nowhere starts talking about the history of the term bigwig. So my ears, ears go up because I'm like, oh, that's what we do. We talk about this. Yeah. And I'm going to just play the clip for you.
Okay.
Do you know what the term bigwig?
I like it. Sounds good.
Do you know where it comes from?
Because people that lost their hair had to wear wigs.
From syphilis.
It was Louis the 14th and his cousin.
So they had syphilis. Their fucking hair's falling out in giant clumps. Their teeth are falling out of their head. Like when people had syphilis, they just rotted apart. And when their hair was falling out, they just got a crazy wig. And the more money you had, the bigger the wig you can get. So the real
big wigs.
So all these other people got syphilis too, and then wigs became like a thing of fashion anyway.
All right.
Yeah. And as I'm hearing him talk, I started thinking about the mission of this podcast. Or I guess we have multiple missions, right? Yeah. So, of course, we want to spread awesome phrases like Cuddy your jib, loaded for bear, Bob's your uncle.
Right.
But also, a big part is to debunk, right? And I'm like, if with this show, which is so listened to and so culturally relevant.
Definitely.
This is just as much as the Aunt Pam email or whatever. If he says a folk etymology, it's going to be powerful. So I figured we take our listeners, which are admittedly a little less than Joe Rogan, probably. Like, I haven't seen his numbers, but I assume his podcast downloads are more than us. Maybe. But we would take our power in fight against that folk etymology. So that's where I'm coming from with this one.
So we're going to do some debunking and also maybe a little bunking. Get some bunking in there.
There may be some bunking.
There might be a way to get syphilis, though, so we need to be careful.
Well, hey, listen, I go in with an open mind, whether it's going to be debunk or to debunk. I'm just going in. I want to see if this is correct or not. So let me take you on the sort of the journey I went through with this. So, like I said, the way he tells the story, and you just heard it, kind of you get that folk etymology vibe, sort of the cadence of how he says it too.
Right.
That it's like, how many times have you heard? It feels like he sounds like Quora Guy.
Yeah.
Which I think that'll be our first Quora Guy reference for season 4. So I went immediately to Michael Quinion because I'm like, this guy. First of all, he's talking about syphilis sweeping through the UK, and that's why they have these wigs. And I'm like, Michael Quinion's British.
Yeah. So he might have syphilis.
How dare you besmirch Michael? Actually, maybe he does. Maybe
I didn't know. I wasn't smirching.
No, it's because he's from Britain and this is a British saying.
Right.
So you'd think, not that he has syphilis. Goodness gracious. But now that I think of it,
no.
I went into the website and it's not in there. So maybe he is avoiding the topic. For the record, there's no way that Michael Quinion he's just a good person.
He's as pure as a driven snow.
Thank you, Steve, for thinking of a good way to put that. But I was a little crestfallen that he didn't have an entry on it because I'm thinking this is going to tell me yay or nay. So I go to, where am I naturally going to go after that? Phrases.org.uk.
Not Urban Dictionary.
Oh, we'll get there.
Okay, good.
Oh, this is a journey, my friend.
Yeah.
So go to phrases.org.uk, and sure enough, no mention of syphilis. So here's a quick summary of what you get over at phrases.org.uk.
Okay.
And they talk about how the fashion for wigs really began with King Louis XIII, known as the Bourbon Kings of France. So thank you if you guys created bourbon. Great job. But this is back in the early 1600s. And he went prematurely bald.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's pretty well known that up until really recently, being bald was like not cool at all, especially if you're a king. Like, I mean, ever since I don't know if it was Michael Jordan or Telly Savalas, but at some point it became like, it's cool to be bald.
Yeah.
Back then it wasn't. And so by the middle of that century, and especially during the reign of Louis XIV, it was pretty much obligatory for European nobility and, quote, people of quality to wear a wig. So, of course, wigs were expensive to purchase and to preserve and keep clean and all that stuff. So, obviously, the more wealthy you were, the better wig you would have, certainly. And one way to sort of show off kind of peacock style would just be to get a bigger wig. Yeah. And almost to the point of absurdity, they literally had wigs so big that they'd require scaffolding.
That's incredible.
So there it is as far as that's concerned. Phrases.org.uk just lays it out there. And I think, honestly, if you were to ask people, they would think about it for a minute and probably figure out that that's what bigwig meant. Yeah. So, and again, as phrases.org.uk says, it's not difficult to imagine that the term bigwig emerged to refer to the rich and powerful. The first record of this in print that they found was someone named G. Selwyn in 1781 that said, quote, "A new point of discussion for the lawyers, for our bigwigs, for their lordships." So it was actually used kind of officially there. Its explicit use of the term is talking about the British judiciary who wore wigs in court. Then and now, by the way, which I'll mention. Yeah. So there it is. I'm thinking, boom, I get to debunk Joe Rogan, but of course I'm going to do my due diligence and keep digging a little bit, even though we normally just, you kind of take it to the bank with phrases.org.uk.
But we got Joe Rogan involved. We like that guy.
Yeah, we like Joe Rogan, but I still kind of want to debunk if I can. That way, that's kind of how I make my overture toward Joe Rogan, is like, it could create some sort of rivalry, I'm thinking, between the two of us. So I start looking up, and I started, I did, and again, I'm using not my work computer, but I start Googling like bigwig, syphilis, you know. Don't go to the images section, that's for sure. And what I would find is like a bunch of blogs of unknown origin that kind of repeat the folk etymology, what I'm thinking is the folk etymology. no references. Just to give you an example, one of the blogs, and again, it just, whenever people talk with such certainty,
right?
That's what I love about a couple of the people we've brought up in the past, where they go through a whole article, you read through it, and they're like, we just don't know. And Michael Quinion does that all the time.
Right.
Then I believe you.
Mm-hmm.
When you say this one guy who's like, yes, it was because of the ravages of syphilis. Oh, by the way, in case, a little side note, you want to know where the term buzz cut came from.
Please.
This also came from this time frame. And this guy in this blog said the term buzz cut for a shaved head came from the practice of people shaving their heads for wigs. Since it was such a popular thing to do at the time, it was called the buzz cut because it was all the buzz. He just made that up. Like there's
that's not true.
Yeah, that's not true. So I start looking. So then I'm like, well, let me see that because that's interesting. Well, no,
right. He's a liar.
He's a liar. You look that up, and all a buzz cut is because the freaking sound of the clippers. That's it. Period.
That guy's recording a TikTok as we speak.
Yeah, exactly.
Right now.
And nobody in the 1700s is like, did you hear the buzz? Like that wasn't even slang. There's no way.
Did you see my TikTok?
Yeah, exactly. Did you see my my Bigwig TikTok with Megan the cow or whatever she is? The cow says,
Bitch.
Yeah. So I do keep looking, and it's just shocking to me that there weren't more like good references for this until I found an article on how stuff works. And then Mental Floss had a good article too. And it turns out that syphilis was one of the reasons. So I also found this website called battlefields.org, and they're like trying to preserve old battlefields and things, but they had a really good, helpful article about this. So I'm going to quote from them here for a second. In battlefields.org, which kind of sounds fake, but it's real.
It's got a .org on it.
So
you're
right.
Might be good.
It's got a good website. And it says that in the 17th century, hairlines were an important aspect of fashion, as we sort of talked about. A good hairline meant you were a well-bred man. And as they put it, unfortunately, syphilis was also on the rise in Europe, ultimately affecting more Europeans than the Black Plague.
Ooh.
So the old syphilis, this was hitting well before antibiotics. So if you had syphilis, you were hating life. So you would have sores on your body and then patchy hair loss. As you know, good hair was associated with status and style. Baldness and hair loss just kind of compounded the shame of having syphilis.
Right.
So it's like you have this thing that I don't even like saying it so much. I wish there was a better term for it, but it just, but if people saw you going bald, it was like big patches of hair coming out.
Right.
Like that guy's got the syphilis.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to stop saying it so much.
Yeah.
So I'm going, okay, well, but then I'm like, well, Battlefields, I mean, they've impressed me with their website. Over at Mental Floss though, they mention that according to William Clowes, an quote, infinite multitude of syphilis patients were clogging London's hospitals. More were filtering in each day. And again, like we said before, people were experiencing hair loss. Baldness swept the land. It's kind of a bizarre way to put it.
Yeah.
So, again, it was a public embarrassment. Long hair was a trendy status symbol, and a bald dome could stain any reputation, according to Mental Floss. Get this, when Samuel Pepys' brother got syphilis, our friend Mr. Pepys wrote in his diary that he said, quote, "If my brother lives, he will not be able to show his head, which will be of a very great shame to me." So you bring in Pepys, know it's, again, like for real, it's good.
Definitely good.
So how stuff works backs it up too. So it really did start with these wigs to cover the syphilis related hair loss, and people that had lice. Lice was a big issue.
Yeah.
So it was much more difficult if you had lice to try to get it out of your hair than to just take off your wig and sanitize your wig and delouse that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know why phrases.org.uk left that part completely out. I wonder if it's maybe just too crass for that. They didn't want to go there with it.
It could be. Or it could be maybe there was still shame from syphilis running through the UK and they didn't want to bring it up. It was a shameful part of their history.
hold up. You might be onto something.
Yeah.
Because neither Quinion nor phrases.org.uk. Oh,
Yeah.
you may have just solved that. So good job.
We all got things in our past that we're ashamed of, but I could see, syphilis and TikTok pretty much I'd say are equal. I think they're both up there and things you should be embarrassed of.
So it does appear that Bigwig, that actually Joe Rogan was spot on with this one.
Mm-hmm.
It's not folk etymology.
Nope.
We have bunked this one. So I don't know if you know this, but in the UK, wigs are still worn in the courtroom.
I think I did know that.
And I was reading about that also on How Stuff Works.
Mm-hmm.
They mentioned that many of the judges and barristers, they keep the headpiece on, or the wig, which is also known, by the way, as a peruke.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they say it brings a sense of formality and solemnity to the proceedings. So makes sense.
No, it does. You see someone in a wig, you think of old-timey. You think of times when kings ruled the land and royalty meant something. It brings back nobility and tradition. It makes sense to me. And you can also think too that maybe that judge has syphilis and he's just really really glad he's a judge.
That's what's funny about, and that's why I like movies like The Favorite, because I do think that you think of like the wigs and these things as very formal and bringing a sense of gravitas to the situation. But when you watch movies like that, it's probably more like it really was. And a lot of times where it's like, hey, we know we're wearing this because everybody's hair's falling out.
Yeah. We all went to France last week, and these wigs will be on for a long time. Exactly.
So last thing, I just like to give a FU to King George, because America, because you may be this I will debunk. George Washington didn't wear a wig. He had naturally kind of reddish hair, if you've ever seen him as a young man.
And he powdered it.
He powdered it, absolutely. So I do like that he didn't wear a wig. He didn't want to. He broke with that tradition. Now we had other presidents that did wear wigs after him, but not George Washington.
No, and he didn't have syphilis either.
All right, so that's it, and it's time to move on to your new slang.
New slang.
New slang when you notice the stride.
So last season, when I was referencing new slang, I relied pretty heavily on a list from Oprah magazine.
Right, I remember that.
So I felt like, it's a new season. We're doing new episodes. It's new slang. I need to, be edgy and be, on the razor's edge, be hip. We're talking about TikToks and syphilis. So this year I went to this season, pardon me.
TikToks and syphilis
has
a ring. The together has a ring to it. I don't know what for, if it's an album or what, but I'm sorry. So you kicked Oprah to the proverbial.
Well, I don't want to say that. I don't want ever be on the wrong side of a woman with that much money.
Yeah.
But currently, or for a little bit, or at least for today, I'm relying on a list entitled 23 New Slang Words You'll Be Hearing More of in 2020.
Okay.
And like I said, I want to be edgy. So this comes from the Reader's Digest.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And which is good because we know Adrienne Appalucci, a previous guest, one of my favorite comedians. If you Google her, you will see Reader's Digest come up all the time with her name, which I still think is someone's elaborate prank, but it still entertains me to no end.
Yes.
However, the Reader's Digest provides more entertainment to us because it also provides me some new slang, including tonight's new slang, straight fire.
Straight fire.
Straight fire. So this is one that I was inspired to use because for some reason I almost, like in my head, like I saw something and I thought that is straight fire.
Really?
And then I was really scared. And then that was probably right before we took our summer Twitter break to get that garbage out of my head.
Yeah.
And there were no TikToks. There are things in my past I'm scared that will come out. TikToks aren't one of them. Even though I got to tell you, and I'm dead serious, like when we first went quarantine, like in March, like when the sourdough bread's everywhere and you're kind of going a little bit nuts, like people started doing it, and I kind of thought, you know what, the kid and I bet you we could get something down. It passed through my mind. So maybe I should be a little more sympathetic to that gentleman I saw at the gas station. I'm not going to be, but maybe I should be. Well, maybe it's something I should keep in mind.
I like to believe that when you thought that straight fire, yo, you probably said yo at the end in your head too, that you actually said it out loud and the guy at the gas station was like, lost all respect for you in that moment, right before he heard his TikTok.
Yeah. And the weird thing is, like 4 months from now, I'm going to be teaming up to do a TikTok with him.
Yeah.
Probably
Straight
at
fire.
the gas station. This is also the gas station that is the secret 7-Eleven.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Which, story for another day.
So Megan, who is it? The cat,
Dojo Cat.
Dojo Cat.
Doja.
Don't call me Dojo Cow.
Or maybe you should.
Maybe we should. Okay,
all
so
right. I digress.
I'm sorry. I'm taking us off the rails with
it's
this.
All right. So my new slang for today is the term or the phrase or whatever it is, straight fire.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? So let's keep it classy.
I'm thinking Taco Bell's involved. Is that it? Could that be
It could
true?
be. There is straight fire. You go straight to the bathroom and
yeah.
feel like there's a fire.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you first a description from my edgy source, Adrian Appalucci's Reader's Digest. So according to Reader's Digest, and I'm quoting here, being on fire, literally, is a bad thing. Being on fire, figuratively, means you're on a roll. Being fire, again, figuratively, means you're amazing. But if someone tells you that you're straight fire, you're an absolute sexy beast, and you should keep doing whatever it is you're doing. And then they give an example.
That's why I've never heard it.
You don't read enough Reader's Digest.
Nobody's ever called me that.
You in that red dress, straight fire.
Oh.
So.
I can see that.
Yeah, I could see that too.
And I could actually see it more on like social media or text or something where instead of saying the word fire, you just throw some fireballs, or whatever the little emoji for fire looks flamed out there. I know you only use the 2 emojis.
I need only 2 emojis. I have my brown, or call me capital B black thumbs up, hashtag diversity, and also a purple eggplant, hashtag whatever that stands for.
Do you ever worry that those aren't going to age well? Those could resurface.
Nothing,
okay.
I have nothing you do on the internet can ever come back and get you.
I'll
let
write
alone
Steve,
you record.
I'll write Steve a text that's 3 because this is 3 paragraphs long, updated. I get back. If I'm lucky, I'll get the eggplant emoji, but it's usually the African American thumbs up.
It's black with a capital B.
Yeah.
So from this, sometimes Reader's Digest isn't as edgy as I want it to be. So let's go to some other resources to make sure I have it right.
More edgy than Reader's Digest?
I'm not saying that, but,
okay.
but you went to a couple different websites for Bigwig. I'm going to go to a couple resources here for mine. This is from slangit.com. It's entry on straight fire. What does straight fire mean? Very cool. Straight fire is a slang term that refers to something really cool or awesome. The term is one step above fire and often appears in comments on social sites like Facebook and Twitter. You were reading right into what I was going to say and didn't even realize it.
No.
So here's an example. Wow, girl. Girl spelled with a U. Wow, girl. That skirt and top is straight fire. And also a quote from a screenshot from a Twitter account of KN the Legend. Joyner Lucas. Gucci Gang remix, straight fire, bruh. Another U. And there's an emoji of 100, a fireball, a sleeping moon, and a rocket.
Okay, let's break this. 100, so you're keeping it 100.
Okay.
A fireball.
Yeah,
which means
you're straight fire.
And then what's after that?
I think it was a sleeping moon, but it might be a sleeping emoji face.
Oh, okay.
And then a rocket ship.
I don't know what the last 2 signify.
I don't know either.
But,
I really don't care.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah.
I do like the use of... Normally, I'm a fan of spelling things correctly. But I do like the use of you instead of I in like girl.
Yeah. And also bruh.
And bruh. I mean, there is something about the you that makes it funnier.
It could be.
Unless... Because the assumption is you actually know how to spell the word girl. But you're throwing in the you to give it a little more stank. You're like... Yeah. Thanks, girl.
So to close out, I want to go to one more resource. The Rice University Neologism Database. So it's got a university, Rice University, which is a real university in Texas. So that's pretty good. And we talked about the power of a .org. This is a .edu. So we have that going for us too. They define straight fire as adjective, a descriptor used to describe something of high quality that is trendy and cool. They also add straight fire is usually used in reference to music, mixtapes, albums, etc. It may be related to the phrase spitting fire, which means rapping quickly and very well. And this is something that maybe we're going to do an interview soon with a hip-hop legend, and maybe this is something we can bring up with him to see if he can give us a definition. So they give a quote that actually apparently is real. The Weeknd's new mixtape is straight fire. And the source for that was something called Yik Yak from September of 2015. So I felt like we were doing a good job by bringing in Rice University and then ending with The Weeknd and Yik Yak. Kind of just put us on a tailspin. So I'm going to wrap this up. So straight fire is something I've thought about using. I want to ask you first. What's your take on this new slang? Is it thumbs up, thumbs down, middle thumb?
I like it in the context of when you said spitting fire, that kind of came together for me. I can see that if it's a really good song, a really good rap song, maybe a good article in Reader's Digest. I could say you're spitting fire.
Right.
I'll give it a middle thumb. I don't love it. I don't hate it. Like I hate some of these other terms. So on a scale, I give it a middle thumb.
You know what? I'm going to make up a whole new thumb. I'm going to give like a 75% thumb. Like it's not a middle thumb. It's not a thumbs up. Like I'm kind of, It's
like a 3/4 thumb.
Yeah, or maybe it's a symptom that I have syphilis, that my body's starting to react against itself.
The syphilis Fonzie.
Yeah. And I've got straight fire somewhere else on my body.
So neither of us love it, but we also don't hate it.
Yeah, as some of these we like.
And some of them are so bad. I think that's why we're starting to kind of give some grace to these, because it's like, hey, this could be, I don't know.
Yeah, I could be the guy making the TikTok video. We're not going to give grace to that person.
No.
But to someone using the term straight fire, we'll bestow that.
It can't be that bad if you just organically thought it the other day, right? And because you said it just popped in. But
that's
your head.
The scary thing. There's no way I organically thought of that. I've exposed myself to something.
Gucci Mane.
It could be.
So we talked about Bigwig, and we're not. I had to really think about what I wanted to do the other one on, because there was that huge list of Big Cheese and everything else. Muckety Muck would have been more fun to say, but I went with Big Kahuna.
Big Kahuna. I like that. It's fun to say out loud.
Isn't it? It's got that Kahuna is just, it's kind of like Hakuna Matata or something. It's just fun to say, as you and I talk about all the time. When I hear the word Kahuna or Big Kahuna, I immediately think of one thing, and that is a Big Kahuna cheeseburger.
Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction, yeah. So I just think about Sam Jackson taking the bite out of Brad with the big brains burger, which say that 5 times fast. And he's like, that is a tasty burger.
This is a tasty burger.
But it makes me, because I love cheeseburgers, and I know you do too.
Yeah, love some cheeseburgers.
When I see him take that bite of the burger, I honestly, it makes me want to like call Grubhub or something, because it just looks so good. But anyway, so yeah, Big Kahuna Burger, it's been in a bunch of Quentin Tarantino movies. It pops up like a lot of his stuff over and over. So, it makes me happy to say I also get the visual of the cover of an old Kevin Spacey movie that I never watched called The Big Kahuna. And honestly, like, I almost don't want to bring it up because the cover is a little bit, there's some cultural appropriation going on. He's wearing like this headpiece, and I don't know about you, I don't want to be the one to tarnish Spacey's good name.
We don't want anything getting out there about Kevin Spacey that's bad. So let's not talk about that.
So we won't put the visual out there, but I will mention that this movie it came out in 99, which was like right at the end of a pretty good run for him. And then it was like he did American Beauty, of course, that year, and then it was just like K-Pax and Frank Underwood, and then I just haven't heard anything for a while. Yeah. So you've never seen?
I don't think so, but when I heard what you were going to do, for some reason, that must have been a poster that was prominent, like at a Blockbuster or something, because I thought of the same thing.
Exactly what it was. It was one of those ones that was in Blockbuster, and that's where I know it from, too. It's a striking visual.
Yeah, and probably no one ever rented it, and it was just there for forever.
No one rented it. Well, because I think what happened was American Beauty blew up, and it was the same year, and I think this one actually came out first, but it was after American Beauty blew up. It was like, hey, we got another one, and here's a big picture of Kevin Spacey with a cultural headpiece on called The Big Kahuna. It is a cool cover.
Yeah.
We know, listen, Spacey's in trouble anyway. That joke's over Look up the cover; it's kind of cool, or offensive, I guess. I don't know.
Who knows?
So anyway, what do you when you hear the term Big Kahuna? I know it makes you happy. Is there anything else that you think about with?
I kind of think it, like you mentioned earlier, it's on that list of stuff with, Bigwig included.
Yeah.
But when I hear someone's a bigwig, I kind of think of it almost a little bit pejorative. Like, I don't want to hang, like a bigwig is a guy in charge, but not someone you want to be associated with necessarily as like your buddy. You don't want to hang out with the bigwig other than like to kiss their butts.
Yep.
But when someone's the big kahuna, like I think of like, I want to have a beer with that guy and slap him on the back.
Yes.
He's a guy that's in charge, but in a fun way. He's a guy that is putting the softball league together.
Yeah.
Or that he's getting everyone to go up and grill some cheeseburgers or something like
Absolutely.
that. He's going to do fun stuff that involves meat and beer and a good time. And you want to hang out with the big kahuna.
Yeah, there's a reason why it's Big Kahuna Burger and not Bigwig Burger.
Yeah.
I don't want to eat a Bigwig Burger.
No.
Well, and actually, Steve, that's a fantastic point you bring up because we listed all those ones earlier. Every single one has a different connotation to it. You say big cheese, that kind of means something different than like the Big Kahuna you just mentioned. It's like the cool one. Big wigs are kind of like the powers that be. There's all these different connotations. So you're right. It's a fun one. I kind of think about surfing and stuff, and so we'll get to that. It feels a little dated. I will say that I probably use this one every once in a while because it is fun to say, but it also, for me, feels a little more like something you'd say in the 60s or 70s, like with a groovy or, far out and stuff. I don't know if that's just me or if that's true.
I could see that.
So once again, and listen, we've built this show. Phrases.org.uk has been a foundational piece to this show. So far be it from me to say anything negative about them at all. But for whatever reason, they don't have this one. But I did want to share something. And Steve, I don't know if you've done this when researching. I brought it up before where you look to see if they have it. They don't have it. But when you do the search, there's like the comment boards.
Yeah.
So I wanted to read this one because I thought it was interesting. So the message board, this guy said, "Can anyone tell me the derivation of this term, kahuna?" And someone wrote as the answer, kahuna is the term for a Polynesian medicine man or shaman. A big kahuna is one with a lot of power, which we'll find there's that's pretty close.
Yeah.
And below this, the same guy says, "I've used the term, he's got big brass kahunas to describe someone who is particularly bold or daring.
Yeah.
But this has nothing to do with shaman, unless they had unusually large testicles."
Right.
And this is why I read the comments of this place in Quora, because I would have never thought that one. But then I said, I've got to do my due diligence. That's another theme for this episode.
Right.
I've never heard that. So something else that I tragically Googled on my home computer, which I am now on a list, is big kahuna testicles. And that brought me to the aforementioned Urban Dictionary. Because I'm like, do people say big kahunas?
Yeah.
Well, of course, you're on Urban Dictionary.
Yeah.
So you know it's good. I did actually find a lot of stuff that I won't repeat. It was pretty bad and gross.
It was Urban Dictionary.
Yes, but I did see that big kahuna being used for not only large testicles, but large breasts.
Wow.
And honestly, who am I to argue with Urban Dictionary? But I think the big kahunas thing, they're getting confused with cojones.
Ah.
And I didn't read that, but I'm like, that has to be what these guys are talking about, right? And then as far as large breasts, I mean, you can pretty much. Is there a term you can't use?
Let's hope we never find out.
That's right. So here's the origin of big kahuna. So big kahuna is an idiom, according to grammars, that is derived from the native Hawaiian language.
Okay.
I know you like Hawaii.
Big fans of our first Hawaiian president,
That's
Barack
right.
Obama.
That's right. So the word kahuna, it's gone through many variations in translation until it finally joined the English language in the middle of the 20th century in the idiom, the big kahuna. So the first known translation of the Hawaiian word kahuna appeared in an 1865 Hawaiian English dictionary as a derivation of the word kahu, or kahu, I guess, which means to cook in an earthen oven. So they use this word kahuna to apply to anyone that practice an art or profession with mastery. So you could be a doctor, a priest, Then during the mid 1800s to late 1800s, a kahuna was just known as an expert in any profession. So so then what started happening is tourists going to Hawaii, they'd hear this term kahuna, and it is sonorous, or canorous, or whichever the right word is.
It's fun to say.
It's fun to say. We're just going to stick with that. And people would come back from touring, being tourists in Hawaii, and would start using kahuna. The big breakthrough was in 1959. The term was popularized by the movie Gidget.
Gidget.
Yeah.
Actually, did not think we would be discussing that tonight, but big fan. Enjoy the movie with Sandra Dee. Really like the show with Sally Field too, because there was Moondoggie and there was also the Big Kahuna.
Yeah, and so I've never seen the movie, but I definitely watched the show as a kid with Sally Field, and I remember the Big Kahuna, and so he was like the ringleader of a bunch of surfers,
right?
And so that term, was used mostly in sort of like as. Like you mentioned before, somebody that's doing something fun with meats and cheeses and maybe surfing as well.
Yeah.
And now we use it as a term to describe anyone who holds a position of power in any sort of organization or just anybody important. Or Kevin Spacey as a, he sold lubrication, by the way, in that movie. I remember reading that and I'm like, interesting.
I have nothing funny to follow up with
No,
that.
you don't. It's funny. There's no follow-up.
Nope.
So that's it. So I will mention this one little footnote that back in 2004, some Hawaiians didn't really care for and I guess still to this day there are people that aren't a big fan of the use of Big Kahuna because it's sort of making a completely different term from what it's actually supposed to mean, which is something a little more somber. Right. But in 2000, well, not somber, but something a little more. What's the word I'm looking for?
Sacred.
Yeah, sacred's a much better word. So back in 2004, some Hawaiians signed a petition to cancel the Dodge Kahuna, which apparently worked because as far as I can tell, it never got past the concept phase. But that could also be because it was a throwback station wagon vehicle with wood paneling. So I don't know if it was the petition or not.
Yeah.
I'd be remiss if I did not mention one more footnote to this, which was,
please.
I kept thinking like, wasn't Big Kahuna? I was getting Gidget and like Beach Blanket Bingo with Annette and Frankie Avalon kind of confused because I kept looking for, wasn't this in Frankie Avalon movies or whatever? Right. And I'm looking at Beach Blanket Bingo and all those other ones, and it's not. But then I found what it was. There, Frankie Avalon was referred to. So in the movie Back to the Beach.
Yes.
Do you remember this movie?
Yeah, Pee Wee Herman's in it.
Yeah. So it for some reason, Back to the Beach was like a much bigger part of my childhood than it probably should have been. Like I remember going and seeing it at the movie theater. But you brought up Pee Wee Herman, and that was part of why I really wanted to see it. And I will say that even by Pee Wee standards, it's one of the more bizarre things I remember seeing as a kid was him doing the "Bird is a Word" song for like for like 5 minutes of just saying the "Bird is a Word" and dancing. It was like, even I was like a little tripping out with that, but. I can't say I recommend Back to the Beach, but so in summary, hopefully you've learned a little bit about Bigwig. We bunked last time saying it, the syphilis thing, and then also Big Kahuna and where that came from, which I think is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And also a little dose of muckety muck in there as well.
Yeah. And now Know Your Onions with special guest Bill Cannell.
Bill Cannell is our guest today. You may know Bill from his band The Moogly Blues, a viral water gun video, my guest on Personal Records, or just as an overall great guy. Bill, thanks for joining us. How are you today?
Well, I'm just pleased as punch to be here with you guys. What a great night this is going to be.
Oh, yes, it will.
And am I the first contestant or?
Well, right now you are the first contestant. If we can get someone, bigger that has a bigger viral video, we'll slide them in before you. But
we're working on the hide your kids, hide your wife guy to see if we can find him.
Right. So how have you been, Bill?
Well, I've just been enjoying the whole COVID shutdown thing, working from home. I miss seeing live music, and I miss seeing actual people. Seeing you two is a real treat.
Yeah.
Even more so than usual. But Yeah.
Or it might cure you of wanting to see people. You might be happy to go back home after this, but like, you know what? This really wasn't so bad being trapped in my house.
I will tell you that the last time I was in the office was 3 or 4 weeks into the shutdown, and my boss was there too. And he kept coming into my office, and even by that time I was getting pissed off because he was interrupting. Right? Because I'd gotten used to being at home. I do my work, and then I quit working, and I go do my thing. And he kept coming in. Yeah.
Well, you've got kids, though, right? I mean, your kids aren't interrupting you, or are they too old now?
They're too old. My son's 24 and my daughter's 21.
They're out of... Oh, okay.
So he's out of the house.
I didn't want to
Miranda's
assume
still,
they're out of the house. But they don't bother you anyway.
No.
That's good. Well, has Steve prepped you at all for this game? You know what you're getting yourself into?
Well, he mentioned that it's sort of a trivia contest based on some of your previous episode on Origin of Speakeasies and...
Well, maybe
some of those things.
It could be previous. It could be something we haven't done before, but
and it could be something personal to you.
Oh,
speaking of personal, I don't. Maybe we should clue in the listeners as to the personal relationship that Steve and Bill have. Would you like to?
Sure. Bill and I have known each other for 20 plus years. We met as graduate students in graduate school. I didn't know where I was going with the rest of that. Where else would we were graduate students at?
Right.
So I've known Bill for a very long time. He's a good guy. And actually, after 20 years of not working together, we finally got a chance to work together too, which is even better.
And you learned how to pronounce his name correctly.
It took 20 years, but yes, Cannell.
Cannell. So we're about to open up a cannel of whip ass on this.
I like that.
Oh my God,
that's solid wordplay.
That's actually one I've not heard. It's usually Suez Canal or Panama.
Some good geography.
Yeah.
Snaps there. Snaps? Okay. All right. Well, let me tell you how the game is actually played. So Steve and I are going to ask you a few questions to test your knowledge about the origins of some words and phrases, and there may be a little curveball in there as well. So you'll get multiple choices. You just have to choose the one you think is correct. So are you ready for the first question?
Do I have the option of a write-in answer?
You know what? Absolutely. I'll allow it.
Okay.
Yeah, you got your own answer. I go for it.
Okay.
It's actually encouraged, especially if it's funnier than the choices we have.
Which is a strong
I probably
possibility.
Won't, but
okay.
I like to know what the options are.
All right. Any other clarifications that you need?
No.
Okay. And the stakes are very, very low here. It's just for pride.
No rice-a-roni?
We should come up with something like that.
Cream of wheat.
Cream of wheat. Yeah.
How about one of Steve's bandanas? That's what we really
No.
need.
No one will get those.
Actually, I was going to say, though, that actually wouldn't be bad. You walk out of here with a bandana.
Yeah. I'm sure that'd be a fun conversation with your wife.
Right.
You left the house for the first time in 3 months, and you came home with a bandana.
All right.
That's the story.
Enough fooling around. We're going to find out if you know your onions. Bill Cannell. Question 1. Which of the following is the true origin of the idiom, bring home the bacon? Is it A, the phrase bring home the bacon originated in the 1500s at county fairs? One of the most popular contests at the fairs involved catching a greased pig, which is obviously not an easy thing to do. The prize for catching the pig was that you got to keep it. So if you won, you got to bring home the bacon. Option B. The idiom bring home the bacon started in the 1100s in a small town in Essex. The story goes that the vicar of the church of Dunmow would reward any married couple that hadn't argued for a whole year and a day with a side of bacon. So, I don't know, probably not a lot of bacon being handed out.
Concept there, okay.
Right. And then option C. In 1906, the mother of boxer Joe Gans sent a telegram encouraging her son to, quote, bring home the bacon by defeating his opponent and coming home safe with the prize money. So just in summary, is it A, the greased pig that you get to take home with you? Is it B, if you don't argue with your spouse for a year, you get to bring home, a year and a day, you get to bring home the bacon? Or C, is it a boxing related idiom? Joe Gans' mother.
Joe Gans, good old Joe. Miss Gans' boy, right?
That sounds
apparently so.
We'll go with it. It had to be Miss Gans' baby boy.
So I have to think. I'm a big bacon fan, as you probably know if you have seen anything from me on Facebook. And matter of fact, my mask is bacon.
Holy
shnikes! Isn't that cool?
It is cool.
That is, Steve. Are you feeling any jealousy right now?
I'm feeling something.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later.
Scoot over, Steve.
Yeah,
We're all positioned on a couch together here.
6 feet apart.
that's right.
Oh yeah, I have a huge couch.
Yeah. So, in honor of a tradition at my neighborhood swimming pool, where we would have a greased watermelon contest, we'd throw a greased melon into the deep end, and everyone would get like 30 seconds to jump in and try to claim the watermelon. I think I'm going to go with option A. Catching the greased pig at the medieval fair.
Well, it makes a lot of sense, but let's see what the answer is. The answer is C. Joe Gann's little boy. Yeah, so that's a true. His mother sent a telegram and told him to bring home the bacon. So bacon had already been sort of used as just meaning your body, which in turn meant being able to work, which in turn meant money, and that's how it got popularized. I want to hear more about the greased watermelon thing because it sounds like a liability there at the pool, but we're going to move on.
Okay.
To question 2. Which of the following is the true origin of the phrase rule of thumb? Is it A, the rule of thumb was British common law that allowed a man to beat his wife so long as the rod was no thicker than his thumb? Is it B, the rule of thumb was the common hitchhiking rule from the 60s, the 1960s, which stated, quote, gas, ass, or grass, no one rides for free? Or is it C, the rule of thumb has been used throughout history as the practice of someone who is not an expert in something to just use a thumb for an estimate for things such as judging the alignment or distance of an object by holding the thumb in one's eye line, the temperature of brews of beer, measurement of an inch, etc. So
like dipping your thumb in the beer?
Yeah, like a brewer would just use the thumb to dip in the beer and be able to tell is it ready or not, which probably breaks some sort of critical health code violation. So anyway, common law about a stick to beat one's wife with. We won't say your wife or his.
Right.
Are there different rules? What about for a woman beating her husband?
We haven't covered that one yet.
Whose thumb is it?
That's another good question. I think it's just the generic thumb.
Sorry, I know you both have young children who ask silly questions like that. I guess I'm just maybe filling the void from tonight. No, I don't want it to be the answer, but I think A is the answer. Okay,
let's look. So the answer is actually C. Yeah, Bill, right. You're not going home with Steve's.
I'm not bringing home the bacon.
We're not done
that's
yet.
True. That's true. Steve's question. The next question is maybe worth more. So the first one that is, and in fairness to you, these were hard, and this one was hard because that is one of the most common folk etymologies out there. And actually, Steve did bring this up in a previous episode.
Most people think this is the answer, so in a very good way. That was a good response.
So you chose the most popular one, but it's
C was my second choice.
It's C, yeah. Well, I completely made up B. The whole the rule of thumb. I don't know. I wanted to say gas, ass, or grass. No one rides for free.
Which is actually, I've said Bill and I met in graduate school, but that was probably a little bit more of an accurate origin story.
He gave me a ride to school.
Yeah. Now you were on the way to
460.
Woodstock 99 or something. So it's C. People. All right. So far, 0 for 2.
All right. But the third question, Bill can redeem himself here. All right. So a little background before I propose question 3. Bill Cannell is a proud graduate of the Appalachian State University in Boone, North Carolina.
You pronounced it correctly, too.
Thank
That's
you.
Awesome.
I have family in town, in Boone. I have a little bit of a mixed feeling about Boone because I have great family there, but I also have a problem of every third time I go, my car decides it wants to stay there, and I get to visit mechanics on the road. But that's not about what we're going to get into right now. So most people know the team name is the Mountaineers.
Everyone knows that.
Not as many people know that their mascot's name is Yosef. Yosef is a bearded mountain man who wears a black hat, suspenders, and wears a gold and black shirt. He also carries a musket, which he fires after Mountaineer touchdowns, and also one time fired at the VMI Kangaroo.
I was at that game.
Yeah.
I like that. I like the cut of this guy's jib.
And I think one of the most important things I took away from this is that VMI has a kangaroo as a mascot, which I did not know before that. So we're all learning things. So, for question 3, what is the true origin of Yosef, official mascot for Appalachian State? A. In 1941, the yearbook staff needed to fill the last spot on the final page of their yearbook. A drawing of a mountain man with a black hat and corncob pipe was used. His full name was listed as Daniel Boone Yosef. Daniel Boone being the namesake of the town of Boone, Yosef being mountain talk for yourself. Instead of students buying their own yearbook pictures, students instead ordered pictures of the fake student, Daniel Boone Yosef. As his fame grew, students began dressing like this character, eventually giving birth to Yosef the mascot. B. In the 1930s, a very enthusiastic local man used to attend football games at College Field, the predecessor to Kidd Brewer Stadium. Dressed like a prototypical mountain man, he would emerge from the woods next to the football field, always carrying his musket to watch the games. When the team would score touchdowns, he would then fire the musket off. His real name was actually Joseph Lee Cooper, but due to poor dental hygiene, he pronounced his name as Yosef. He was beloved by the fans, and after he passed away, one of the students replaced him on the sidelines as the Mountain Man, in tribute to him. Or is it C? One of Appalachian State's rivals are the Western Carolina Catamounts. In 1961, the night before the Catamounts and Mountaineers played, Western Carolina football coach Dan Robinson was interviewed by a student reporter for the ASU newspaper, The Appalachian. The interview became contentious after several digs about Western Carolina by the young reporter, and ended abruptly when Coach Robinson said to the reporter, "Why don't you go F yourself?" Word of this exchange got around to the students. During the game, as Appalachian State pulled away, Coach Robinson got into an argument with the referee. The students began to chant at Coach Robinson, "F yourself." One of the offensive linemen for Western Carolina took exception to this disrespectful display and began to approach the stands to enter the crowd. But before he could get into the stands, a local resident in Mountain Man attire smashed the offensive lineman in the knee with a musket rifle. Appalachian State won the game, and the following week a student dressed like the Mountain Man joined the team on the sidelines. The name was cleaned up to Yosef, which is local mountain talk for yourself. So our three options are A, the yearbook staff inventing a character named Daniel Boone Yosef, B, an enthusiastic mountain man who used to attend the games, or C, named after the vigilante mountain man who protected the students as they began to chant "F yourself" at Coach Robinson of Western Carolina.
See, this is a real quandary for me, right? Because I really wanted it to be the F yourself for C. And the last two questions have been C, right? So I'm really tempted to go with that.
And the old SAT thing. If you don't know the answer, you put C.
C is the answer. Yeah. And then B is intriguing because Kidd Brewer is the name of the stadium. I had never heard that story. That would be cool if that were the case. But I'm pretty sure that this time the answer is A with the yearbook photo.
And the correct answer is A.
Oh, he redeemed himself.
And as that is a bonus question, it has nothing to do with idioms. You have 100%.
100%. Good job.
You win.
You get
best score ever.
Good job.
Congratulations.
Man, this is my lucky day.
This is.
I've never felt so accomplished.
Does he get anything? Did we decide?
Not yet.
Not
we'll
yet.
work on
Okay.
that. We'll see if I have an extra bandana on me. I might have one like hidden in my pants somewhere.
Bill Cannell.
I'll pass on that one.
Bill Cannell, thank you so much for being a guest.
What a pleasure, and thanks for doing the homework on Appalachian.
You're welcome.
No problem.
Go App!
All right, well, that was our very important people show, and that's why we had Bill Cannell. He did a great job, 100%.
Definitely a big kahuna in a good way.
Big kahuna. So, and lover of meats and cheeses, especially meats, as we've well documented.
Also in a good way.
In the best way.
Yeah.
So, what do we need to tell them about, Steve?
So, a lot of exciting things going on. We have recently introduced our Patreon account. We can find it at patreon.com/speaksies. Bonus podcasts, including Animals That Suck and the probably to be renamed post-game show.
We should just never rename it, actually. I think
that's
the joke.
It's eventually going to be renamed.
Yeah.
Also, some great video footage. We have a great interview in our next episode coming up with MC Search of Third Base. So much good content that couldn't make it all into the episode. So as a Patreon member, you get to see that too. So bonus podcasts, behind the scenes footage, all for any price that you want. We have a pay what you want option. So no matter what your budget, if you want to support Origin of Speaksies, we have something for you.
And in case you didn't hear that, or you're not sure what you just heard, you did hear that, right? MC Search from Third Base is coming up on the show. So very excited about that. Also, another thing that we did this year, we've got a number to a voicemail. So if you call us at 804-621-5803, you can leave us a message, tell us about maybe a word or phrase you'd like to hear, anything you want to say. So other than that, I guess it's Bob's your uncle.
Watch out for bears and kale is from the devil.